Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Today on CityCast Philly, I'm sitting in City Hall with Councilmember at Large Isaiah Thomas. Although City Council isn't in session, Thomas is working on a variety of projects this summer. We'll chat about his work with young people, voting, and what we all could be doing right now to make Philly just a little bit better. It's Monday, August 5th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Councilmember at Large Isaiah Thomas, welcome to CityCast Philly.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm super excited to be a part of the conversation, and hopefully this won't be my last time here.
Yes. All right. This is a little civics question, but council members at large, they don't represent specific districts, but rather the entire city, right?
Absolutely correct. And I love civics. So anytime we can do a deep dive into how local government works, I'm always going to be a fan of that.
Nice, nice. And you're now in your second term. What has this elected position meant to you?
So again, you mentioned being an at-large member, different than the district members. We have 10 district seats, so each district has its own council member. But being one of the 7 council members at large really puts me in a position to be able to advocate and fight for issues that's related to the entire city. For me, overall, it's an honor to serve the citizens of Philadelphia. It's an honor to be one of the few people who actually become an elected official. And I'm hoping that when I leave, that my legacy will be one that consists of making Philadelphia a better place for everybody.
All right. Well, speaking of that, for our listeners who also want to get more involved in the city and make Philly better, what could they be doing right now?
That's a great question. And I think for me, I always encourage people to start with where they live and start with what they care about. So in your neighborhood, you have a number of issues. No matter where you live in the city of Philadelphia, you can live in one of the richest parts of the city or one of the poorest parts of the city. Knowing what's going on in your neighborhood, understanding your issues, whether it's development, cleanliness, crime, schools, being involved in those issues are very, very important. So that's the first thing I would tell people. Join your local RCO, be involved with your local CDC, get involved with your block and your block captain, know what's going on with your ward and your ward leader and your committee people. And if you're engaged in your neighborhood, you're making a difference right there just by waking up, caring, and participating.
You said RCO. Can you just define that for us, just for
Registered Community Organization? Community as your RCO. Your CDC is your Community Development Civic or Civic Community Development Corporation. But both of them are responsible for making sure that there's adequate development that's happening that's reflective of what the people in the neighborhood actually want to see.
Nice. All right, let's talk about some of the initiatives you're working on and the issues that you're focused on. For the listeners who don't know, you're the head coach of varsity basketball at Sankofa Freedom Academy Charter School in Kensington, right?
Yes.
How are you managing all that and being a council member?
I mean, if that was the only thing I was doing, it would be easy. So right. I don't just sit on, I'm not just the head coach there. I'm on a board for PIAA District 12, where we represent all public schools and Catholic schools that participate in the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association. Clearly, we're the 12th district. So that predominantly makes up really the county of Philadelphia more than the city of Philadelphia, because we're talking about something that's statewide. I sit on a number of other different boards as well, too. I'm super excited because my camp is about to start. I do a free camp every year. The last couple weeks of August, we know that free summer program ends before school starts. And in a prior lifetime, I was a teacher. And for me, being involved with young people is really my calling. And so I can't wait for my camp to start. We have over 190 young people to come up that's already signed up. But you asked me, how you balance and manage it all? It's all about the support system and the people you have around you. So it starts with my family. I love my children, but unfortunately, they can't support me in the ways that helps with these initiatives. But my wife is amazing. She's super supportive. I have a lot of brothers and sisters who also support me as well, too. My father as well. And then when I step outside of my immediate ecosystem, system. It's about the teams that are in place with the various projects that I'm a part of. So clearly we're in City Hall. My city council team is amazing, and they're able to make sure that the team and the agenda moves forward on a consistent basis, no matter what I have going on. I have a phenomenal coaching staff at Sankofa Freedom Academy. And if I'm running late for practice, or if something goes on and I can't make it, the next man up is always ready to substitute, pitch hit, and make sure that the young people don't miss a beat. The various other things I'm a part of, I can say that the team is reflective of what I've described with the first two initiatives. And I can't do anything that I've been able to do, some of the success and wins that we've had, if it's not for a phenomenal team. I'm the coach at Sankofa, but I'm the coach at City Hall. I'm the coach of the camp. I know what it means to put together a quality team. And I think that is some of the strengths that I bring to City Hall. It's not just about me, it's about the collective.
Well, speaking of that, this month you're hosting a Youth Name, Image, and Likeness Summit, which will connect student athletes and businesses for NIL deals. Why focus on this?
Well, we're trying to fill a void. At the end of the day, we recognize that name, image, and likeness on the collegiate level is running rapidly all across the country, and it's having a huge impact on not just collegiate athletics, but what does it mean to be an amateur athlete in general. And so before it becomes something that is out of control in the city of Philadelphia, we see predatory behavior where businesses and corporations and adults are able to take advantage of young people and, possibly give a 15-year-old an NIL deal that gives you access to that person's image for the rest of their life. We don't want to see anything like that. So we're trying to step up and make sure that we are intervening as it relates to this process. We really appreciate Temple for being our partner as it relates to making sure that we're legally into compliance to all of the laws and rules that the PIAA has essentially implemented for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as it relates to amateur, specifically high school athletics. So for us, again, this is similar to when I talked about the camp. We're really just trying to fill a void. We recognize that this is coming on the horizon, and we want to make sure that we get ahead of it before it turns into an issue where student athletes are being taken advantage of.
All right. Last week, the City Council's Committee on Education, a committee that you serve on, held a hearing about investigating the state of youth homelessness in the city. What are some goals for you for reducing youth homelessness?
As a chair of the committee, I thought that it was imperative that we have this hearing. And for us, the goal of the hearing was to put us in a position to do a couple things. Number one, we want to put content and information on a record as it relates to what works. We also want to examine where we are currently, because we know we know
the
we're
numbers
running
aren't
out
really clear.
Well, we're running out of funding and CARES dollars, and so we're glad that the conversation was able to take place, and we look forward to putting ourselves in a position to be able to say, we've done much better than where we were before as it relates to dealing with the issue of youth homelessness.
Can you tell me any personal stories that you have to this issue, if you do?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in a hearing last week, and basically, for me, being a basketball coach has put me in a position where we don't necessarily see, and I'm sure some coaches have, but I don't necessarily see the traditional, living on the street version of homelessness, but we see a lot of surf couching homelessness, right? My mom got evicted and we have to stay with our grandmom, or, I'm staying with a friend this week and I have to stay with another friend next week, or, I'm a couch surfer from here to here until I get adopted or until I find a foster home. Those narratives were common for me coaching high school, and I still see them scattered a little bit today. Definitely more common when I was a full-time coach, because I was also the dean as well. So I wasn't just dealing with the basketball players. I was dealing with young people in the entire school. And for us, when you are an educator and you're in this space and you're dealing with young people who have these issues, it puts you in a position where you recognize that they have an automatic disadvantage. When they're sitting in math class and, you're trying to learn algebra 2, it's not just about the arithmetic that's on the table. It's about the arithmetic I have to do when I leave here to figure out how am I going to put 2 and 2 together to get me a meal? How am I going to put 2 and 2 together to figure out where I'm going to sleep at the night? And you begin to try to be more than just a academic resource to those young people in particular, because you know that they have a disadvantage, not just as it relates to their current academic journey, but the support systems that you know they'll need once they transition out of your space. So it's a narrative that I've dealt with far too often. I've seen it create some of the most resilient young adults that I've ever met in my life because of some of the things that they've experienced, but I've also seen it break some people as well.
More with Councilmember Thomas after the break.
Introducing our biggest GMC Acadia ever, offering bigger screens, bigger views, and even bigger journeys. Live your biggest life in the all-new GMC Acadia.
Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
So earlier this year, you joined with some of your colleagues in council on an initiative to get more Black men registered and turn out to vote. How's that going?
It's going well. I mean, it's constant advocacy. I think for the last couple of weeks, we've all been in limbo. I mean, from the time that the presidential debate happened to the number of events that has taken place since then, it's really difficult to have those type of national conversations. But I think we're getting to the point where we have some clarity on what direction we're going in as it relates to who will be the nominees for the two major parties, as well as any other independents that's running. This effort in particular is a bipartisan initiative. So we're not pushing for Democrat, Republican, independent, no particular candidate. We're just encouraging people to vote. Unfortunately, it does benefit certain demographics when Black men specifically don't vote. And as a person who, well, I'm 40 now, but wasn't 40 about a month ago, I think there are a lot of Black men who have been targeted as people that somebody considers can have an impact on the outcome of the race based on the advertisement that's been coming to me. I see a lot of things telling me that the economy has failed. I see a lot of things telling me that the country is going in the wrong direction. These are text messages and advertisements that comes to my phone more than my wife's, more than some of my staff. And at the end of the day, it makes a lot of us believe that there's a targeted campaign and a targeted effort to suppress the vote of Black men in the city of Philadelphia. And we want to offset that. So our goal is to try to provide accurate information, try to make sure that there's a lot of outreach and as many touches as we can possibly provide, and just make our best concerted effort to push people to go to the polls and vote, no matter who you vote for, to vote now. Clearly, I have a bias on who I think people should vote for, but this effort isn't about who I'm endorsing or who I'm supporting. It's about moving the needle as it relates to voter participation in the city of Philadelphia, but also making it so that people understand voting is a norm. This year is going to be, I guess you'll have voter fatigue by the time November comes. And while I comprehend that, I don't necessarily agree with that. Next year, we have to vote for judges and a district attorney and seats that matter to issues related to the liberation of people of color. And at the end of the day, if you are really concerned with mass incarceration in the criminal justice system, next year's election is just as important as this year's.
Voter turnout has been very low throughout the city, according to the Philadelphia City Commissioners. In the last election, which was the 2024 primary in April, there were over 1 million registered voters, but only 19.36% actually voted. I've asked this question before on the show, but how do we get people to care about voting? How do we make voting sexy?
Yeah, 19% of anything is not good, right?
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say anything. 19% of most things isn't good. I think the best way to get people to care is to get people to understand. People can't care about something they don't understand. For me, one of my push as the chair of the education committee, I believe that we should teach civics and government the senior year in high school and give young people the option to get registered to vote their senior year in high school while they're there. The reason why I say that is because for me and for a lot of us, we learn American history, We learn world history. We learn a lot of different types of history, but we don't learn civics and government in schools. Nobody taught me there was 17 members of Philadelphia City Council, and we're responsible for land, the budget, and city laws, right? 203 members of the House. And these are things that young people need to know. And they also need to recognize that these are the positions that they're likely to see, touch, and feel, as well as have a direct impact on their everyday life. And so when you think about specifically how involved a judge is in the life of an average everyday person, whether it's a crime you committed, whether it's a custody battle you're going through, a judge has a right to take away your freedom. A judge has a right to take away your home. A judge has a right to take away your assets. And at the end of the day, when someone has that type of power, it's a shame that if you go to somebody, it's 2024, but last year we voted for judge. If you go to somebody and say, hey, who are the 10 judges you voted for last year? Most people can't even tell you. I think that will not change until we make civics and government a part of the curriculum here in the school district of Philadelphia. The last thing I'll suggest, Election Day should be a holiday. Everybody should have off. It should be a part of the culture and the fabric of this country, just like we have cookouts on 4th of July and we open gifts on Christmas and all the other things that we do that are social norms here in the city, in this country. I would want Election Day to be right up there with Memorial Day and Veterans Day and some of the other holidays that I named.
We're going to move on. Another initiative you've been pushing is raising the minimum wage to $15. This wasn't something that ended up getting included in the state budget this year. So what happens next for this issue?
We continue to fight. We continue to advocate. We continue to push. At the end of the day, this is what we know was needed some 10 years ago. And, 10 years later, $15 an hour isn't even the adequate number anymore. It probably should be more like $18.50. But this is where we are. And one thing about politics is that it's a constant negotiation. So I've also been pushing for more money for public education. City of Philadelphia got $232 million in new money for our schools. And so while we might not have gotten to where we want to get with the minimum wage, we did see a lot of victories as it relates to this budget. And I commend a lot of the House leadership, as well as Governor Shapiro and a lot of our partners in the Senate, for being able to deliver resources in ways that we've never seen here in the city of Philadelphia.
How's Mayor Cheryl Parker doing in her first year?
I think when you look at the curve from where we were as a city to where we are right now, even if you don't agree with every decision that she's made, you have to commend her on the direction that the city is now going in. We are a lot more vibrant. People are a lot more optimistic, and government is a lot more present. And at the end of the day, if you agree with a decision or a funding initiative, or you're not going to agree with everything that any elected official do, but based on what I've seen so far, I do think that Mayor Parker and her team should be commended. Not just for the effort that they've executed as it relates to this transition, but also for the enthusiasm that they've pushed as it relates to where we are as a city and the direction and the future of our city.
What are you most excited about?
Well, I think that the crime being down has to be the biggest thing as it relates to the Parker administration. When you look at how big of an issue crime has been coming out of the pandemic in major cities all across the country, right?
Yeah, dealing with it, yeah.
The numbers are showing that we're moving in a different direction. That's hard to believe when you have so many unfortunate and viral situations, mass shootings in West Philly where 8 people are shot, babies less than 10 months old being shot. These are heart-wrenching crimes that really hit the soul. And if you have any level of humanitarian in you really, they hurt when you read these stories and you talk to members of the family. But the data still says that we're trending in a different direction than we have been in the last couple of years as it relates to the crime. So I think that's the thing that I'm most excited about as it relates to where we are as a city. But I also recognize that we have a lot more work to do. And I would bet that the mayor would say the same thing.
So along with the crime and violence, what's also top of mind when you guys come back into session?
Well, no. So I want to be clear. The crime and the violence was what I felt like the administration has done a good job of as it relates to this transition. When we come back into session, it's going to be a ton of things that we're going to essentially be visiting and discussing and making decisions around, both legislatively, from a fiscal perspective as well, too, and in preparation for 2025. So please believe we have a full agenda coming from City Council this fall. I myself have a number of important hearings. We'll be examining things around getting ready for 2026 and all of the events that are going to be taking place in the city of Philadelphia. We'll be looking at the 2025 budget and trying to assess early what we need to do and what direction we need to go in. We know PICA just came out with their review of our budget and recommendations on what direction we should go in. A number of different legislative initiatives coming out of my office specifically, but I'm sure other council members have been spending the summer, in the kitchen, baking up some good bills and preparing to come back in the fall with some home run legislation.
Okay, so here on CityCast Philly, we love to offer recommendations and life hacks to our listeners. So we're going to do a quick game of rapid fire. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Favorite basketball court in the city?
That's a trick question. So are we talk about an outdoor park, or
it
are we
could be
talk about
outdoor
any
or
court?
Indoor.
So right now I would say it would definitely be the Six-Man Center, right? PYB.
And that just opened in July this year.
Very supportive of what they have going on over there. So if I had to pick, but I'm a Philly guy. So growing up, I would go to Sturgis. I also did my camp at Finley every year. So Finley was my backyard too. But then I got a lot of love for Gambaro Rec Center because I started all my programs there as a coach. So I'm really tied into the rec centers.
Yeah.
So that's why I was a loaded question.
Well, speaking of rec centers, favorite city park?
Outdoor park?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Fairmount Park.
Okay.
Easy.
Where exactly?
Fairmount
Belmont, Plateau?
Belmont Plateau,
Okay.
exactly. Yep. I do my softball event there every year. I love Belmont.
You play softball too?
I'm a better softball coach.
Okay.
I'm 40 now. So, the softball player I was at 30 is very different than the player I am right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I can play. I got a good home. I can hit a home run still.
Okay.
I got a good bat, but getting around the
bases
is not what it used to be.
I've been eating a lot of cheesesteak, so I'm going on a quest to find the best in the city. Where is your favorite place to get a cheesesteak?
See that?
I know.
It just depends on what type of mood you're in, right?
Right.
I'm kind of corny. I like a nice little pizza store, In-N-Out cheesesteak. Where do my son go? He goes to the one up Roxborough.
D'Alessandro's.
Yeah.
Or Chubby's.
No, not Chubby's. D'Alessandro's. Okay. My brother goes there. So that's their spot.
Okay.
But a good pizza store one is cool with me.
Okay.
I like the In-N-Out, the Old English, my little Northwest pizza stores, nice little cheesesteak, Bruno's. I'm good with that.
Okay. Favorite Abbott Elementary character?
What if I said I didn't watch Abbott Elementary School?
You've never watched it?
You would be throwing me. No, I definitely watch it. I love it.
Okay.
But what if I didn't watch it, right?
Well, then that would be your answer.
Right. I'm sorry, I don't know names of characters, but it would definitely be the sister teacher, the older woman, Miss Barber, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That would definitely be it.
Nice.
And that's Vincent Hughes' wife.
Yes, I was about to say, I see the connection.
But no, it's that motherly feel in a school, right? That was my mentor teacher type person for me. So, that's why I would go to her. I love the main character too.
Janine.
Janine. What's her name?
Quinta. Yeah.
Quinta, yeah. I love her character too. She's I just like the narrative-based show. And she's the narrator. So, other than that, they're all funny. I like the show.
Favorite life hack for living in Philly? So this could be if you drive 35 miles per hour on Broad Street and Walnut Street, you can hit every green light. So something like that.
I feel you on that. So mine would be going to the Northeast, right? We always take the back ways. When you're from the Northwest, I live uptown. So when you're from the uptown, we always take the back ways to get to the Northeast. So you can get from uptown to the Northeast in 5-10 minutes. So
what street do you take?
Nah, it don't work that way. See, that's how you know you're not from uptown. You gotta navigate it. It ain't a particular street. It's a lot of rules, man. It's a lot of rules.
Okay.
Very different. Very different. But that would be my favorite one.
Okay. That was Councilmember at Large, Isaiah Thomas. Councilmember, thank you so much for speaking with me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you enjoyed this episode, tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.